another Sunday Jim Miller's garden, and give the garden a look over, show everybody how it's coming. Here is that uh, volunteer pumpkin. It's got two large, like zucchini type. I might be able to get a jack-o'-lantern out of this bigger one. It looks good. But I just discovered that this squash vine, pumpkin vine, here is finally got a reasonable, and I didn't see this. It looks like it's pollinated and it's starting to grow. It's got a pumpkin on it. It's finally got a viable pumpkin that next week I'll look at it and show you that maybe it's getting big and it'll make a little pumpkin hopefully before frost. It might be still green at Halloween. I think it's, and that vine, it started from right over there and it went out in the yard and it came in through where these sweet potatoes are, and it ended up here, and it never gave up. And this is the best looking fruit on it so far, and it never gave up. It nearly died during that hot weather in June and July. It kept crawling. The original part of it died out, and there it is. It's gonna likely work. Never gave up. The plant never gave up. And here is a pumpkin that's about ripe. I need to cut it and take it inside. There's a butternut squash. It's ready to go inside, and this weird looking watermelon with the pointed end, its vine is dead, so I need to take it inside and let it ripen some more. Here's the sweet potatoes, the purple sweet potatoes. I need to look for a blossom. Oh, I found one. They got the prettiest purple flowers. I've never grown sweet potatoes before, and they have taken up an incredible amount of the garden. I'll back out. This whole area is sweet potato vines, and they're not supposed to be harvested until like October, November, and they got a month or so to go, and they're still growing vines rapidly. These shoots out here, you can see the lighter color green, that's fresh growth. They're looking pretty healthy. I may, well, we got a better chances of rain later in the week, so hopefully I don't have to water them this week. They haven't had much rain in quite a while. And here's this pretty marigold plant that's a volunteer. I just let it grow in the tomato row. This branch here is kind of, I think it kind of broke, and it's just laying flat now. But that's looking good. It's just something to look at. Here's all my, okay, I got three groups of volunteer tomatoes that I brought down here and planted in rows. They're getting towards done. There's a few tomatoes. Green tomatoes growing. I've been getting every 3 days probably like 5-10 pounds of tomatoes off my plants. And here is Here's the giant Marconi peppers. Got 4 plants. They're putting on a lot. This plant here was like chin high, and it got too heavy. Now they're dropping down towards the ground, and I just gotta watch. I gotta watch for the peppers to stay off the ground, or there'll be a chance they'll get rot. They'll start to rot. So I have to watch. It's been really well. That thing's gotten big. They have. They're looking good. There's a bunch. Ooh, that one looks rotten. I gotta throw it out. Where is this? Ugh. Oh, I see. There's one that one broke off, and it was small, and it's laying on top of this other one. And oop, that needs to be picked. I'll have to pick that one. It's got a little rot on the end, so I'll have to pick that today. And here's my pumpkin patch from the volunteer pumpkins that were in the second corn. That one's looking really nice. It may turn orange before Halloween. And here's a nice long one. It's got a lot of, that's a very, very nice looking one. Hope it gets orange. Is there another one? Or is that one? Here's a nice marigold. I'm going to show that. I'm going to go up on that bee if it doesn't fly. That's that's a bumblebee. Bumblebee getting breakfast. He's in it. He's paying no mind to other things, and he's getting that nectar. Okay, I'll go over here. See all this hard getting through, because all these vines. And here's the yellow tomatoes. They're pretty much, there's some good looking tomatoes on it. They really look like there's another worm issue. I gotta get that one. I got the tomato worms have been they've been not too bad this year. I've been using some sprays on it, and I switched to Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew, and it might not be working as good as Captain Jack's BT, Thuricide. So I may go back to the Thuricide and spray. The next time I spray, I'll pick tomatoes here in a couple days and decide what to do. Boy, I almost tripped into the patch. Okay. Yellow tomatoes are going on the decline. Here's a tiny, well, that's not going to be much of anything. It's going to be chicken food. A little pumpkin. Oh, let's do this. I don't know. Maybe I'll leave that to the bees. Here's another, look at those bumblebees digging down in the squash flower. And here's I don't want to disturb the bees. This is a female flower with a fruit on behind the flower, and if it gets pollinated, I'm going to track this vine. Okay, that vine is a sprout off from this main vine, There's already, I'll try to get a view of it. There's already a pumpkin on it that's misshaped. It's not a good jack-o'-lantern candidate, but it's getting pretty good sized. Okay. Here's a real nice looking pumpkin that came out here from the patch, and it's looking really good. That one's going to be a good one. And here's what's left. Left of the beefsteak tomatoes. There's very few left. The foliage is dying back, and I don't see many more. I don't see much of a chance for many of them being. Like a month from now, all these tomatoes might be gone, and there might not be any small ones growing, because this foliage is really looking poorly. I might not even. I'll probably spray it, but see these little green ones. They don't have much foliage to feed them, so that's they had a good year. I froze a lot of tomatoes off of here and ate a lot of tomato or a lot of chili, and did pretty well. It did pretty well for seed that was, let's see, 7-year-old seed. I got enough to grow, and got a lot of tomatoes this year. And here is a little squash plant that I don't see any female blossoms started yet. It's getting late in the year. The sun's getting poor, less sun, cooler temperatures, and it doesn't have much of a chance to put on a pumpkin. Now on this one, there is a flower started. About 3-4 days it'll bloom, and it's healthy enough that it may fertilize and grow a pumpkin. And here is the caged tomato from Steel Post. This is the one that was the worst looking one at one time. Now it's overhead high. It's got a lot of, ooh, that one's rotten. This one, something happened to you. Could have been probably one of those worms. And I'll just let that drop. So this one had plenty of small tomatoes and more to come. And here is the other squash. This squash plant came out of right here, transplanted from volunteers. And there is a nice pumpkin there. And then there's another. I'm going to look at this again. Oh yeah, this is off the same plant, but it's putting on another pumpkin. That's good. And here is this tiny tomato row. And a nice green tomato on it. And other tomatoes that came up with the squash. Plants look good. These tomato plants look good. I'll be getting tomatoes till frost on those most likely. And here's that very large tomato, the cage, the Steel Post cage. It's very, very tall and stringy. It's, for how big it was, I don't think it really put out a whole lot of tomatoes. It was good. Oh, there's some pretty, that's a good group there. It just didn't like blow me away on the amount of tomatoes like some of these other plants did. And here is I got two plantings here of, what is Dutch? Oh, flat Dutch cabbage. And that one's looking good. And here is some more. I had to replant this twice to get some plants going. And I think there's still 4 of them there. I may transplant a couple of them elsewhere. I'm just try. It's getting late in the year. They're not growing very fast, just kind of sitting there. And here is my 5th corn, but it's all picked. I got so far 79 ears of corn, and most of them have been very, very good. Good length, tastes good. Very, very pleased with this year's 5th corn. Well, I never had a 5th corn. So, very good. And here's probably one of the last ears that is still, I felt it today, and I felt a few kernels. It may just have a handful of kernels on it. It was the last one to tassel out. And I think I got a little pollen on it by hand, but I forgot a couple times, and I should have been a little bit more remembering to pollinate it. So it may be just kind of a toothless ear. Here's a volunteer tomato that's, I don't think it looked better last week, and I'm looking for no tomatoes on it yet. Again, I mean, this one had tomatoes before, not a bad group, and it's struggling to put on tomatoes again. Here is a tomato here. There was 2 large tomatoes I got off of it already, and it's a volunteer. It just, the seed must have washed down here, and at the end of this garden, upper garden, and it sprouted and it grew and got 2. And I think those tomatoes are still in the house ripening. So that's good. It did good. It had a couple. Okay, here is the volunteer bean. It's a climbing bean, and it's stretched out all over this fence. And it was a volunteer from beans that was planted on the upper end in a row. One bean went up the fence, and it was like twice as big as this one at this time of year. And I had beans all last fall from it, and I had several cookings of beans and whatever, I put cheese or potatoes with it, and it really was a good, just a single plant had beans all last fall. And this, you can see the beans vine is very thick, and that's what this bean does. There was two little volunteer plants. One of them survived, and this one crawled the fence. I picked the beans a couple days ago, and it's the second picking, but I do have enough beans for a serving, or for several servings of beans, however we decide to do. Here's a nice big bumblebee. Let's get focused. He's pollinating the beans, and he's going to another. I'm gonna go to this one. This one might have some breakfast. Here we go. Okay. Very nice that we have a few beans here in the early fall, and Okay. And here's what's left of the another climbing bean. These are the turkey craws that I've done. Ooh, that's a bug. He's very much the same color as the of the bean foliage. He's green. And I've already picked a good number of pods for the family. Wants some beans, some turkey craw beans, and I want some for myself. I got plenty of seeds so far. There's a few more pods that are here growing and ripening. So instead of eating them, we decided, well, let's get some seed before it dies, because there wasn't much seed left from what I got from Mammoths. And there's a nice pod that's getting ripe. Okay. And here's these poor tomatoes along the wall that came up in between the sidewalk and the house, and they're not looking good. There's lack of water. I can't. I tried watering these, but water you can't. It doesn't soak. It's got to be a slow soak to get down to its roots. So they're just on their own. What's left to the cantaloupe? It's getting pretty grassy. Where is that one? There's a little bitty cantaloupe. Well, there's actually another small one. A little bitty cantaloupe growing on that one, on this vine. Uh, it may get big enough to have a little cantaloupe, but here's that. What are these? Wakefield, Jersey Wakefield. What's left of the Jersey Wakefield cabbage? There's some here and there. And this plant is 3 years old. And this one right here actually had cabbage that we ate each year. The last 3 years, you know, it had first year had big cabbage, second year smaller, and this year it was a tiny cabbage, but it was edible. So it took advantage of that. So that was cabbage are not supposed to be like a perennial, but these happen to keep growing. And I'm gonna let this grow over the winter, and if it survives through, it may put on some cabbage, possibly. So I'm just gonna let it go. And here's a small, what's left of a row of volunteer tomatoes. Here's a big one. Oh, I think I see wormholes. I'm gonna have to change my spray again. Okay, and where to go next? Another volunteer tomato. These are shaped like Romas, and I didn't plant Romas, so these came on a bird bird droppings, and they may have planted a Roma, and they really look like Romas. So there you go. And here's another volunteer that I've been getting a few tomatoes on. That came out of, I think it was I think it came out of where I was planted acorn squash and compost, so it came out of something. And it's been here for a long time. Here is a acorn squash that managed to survive the summer. It's the last one, I think, and it's got a squash on it. Nice little squash. And here, these are nightshade berry plant. I'm looking for one to eat. Oh, here's some down here. And these got the, I got to take the stems off of this plant. This plant would, the stems would stay on the berry. I dropped one. Next year's plant. That one tasted good. I pick them and I have to, it's weird how these stay, they keep their, see, I don't want to eat that. I gotta, I'll drop another one. I gotta take the berry off the stem. Ooh, those are just dropping. So it's a little more work to eat those. Okay, how you doing? Oh, there's a tomato on it. This is a bush Goliath from the spring. Had a good number of tomatoes on it during the year, and it's got a little bitty one. It's got some, the foliage looks fairly decent. It may produce some more tomatoes. And here's another volunteer tomato with more tomatoes that the beans have kind of taken over its spot, but it's still growing good. It's a very nice looking pumpkin here. Ugh. I need to get something under it again. I need to get something under it to keep it from rotting. Now these nightshades here, I just go pick them and the stems are off and eat them. Very good. Here's another new pumpkin. This feels good. It's not going to be very big. Oh, this, and here's another, or here's a tomatillo that came in on probably the birds, and I just looked at it and it came off. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm going to I'll put it in my pocket. I've been putting those in the chili. I have no other use for them. I'm going to try to save some seed and grow some more next year. Okay. And look at this mess here is the old corn row, the first corn. It's got volunteer pumpkins, marigolds, nightshade berries. That one wasn't quite as ripe. And here's a tomato plant. It's got what they call grape tomatoes. This came in voluntarily from probably the birds again. And I want to save some seed off of that so I can grow some more. I like to get them growing earlier in the year and see how they produce. Okay, this is the end of this. Another volunteer tomato that I got tied to the sunflower pole. This one's produced a lot. And then that pumpkin there needs to come inside because it's solid. Its vine's dead. And here's another long pumpkin. Okay, I'll go over here and then go up. And here's another pumpkin that's very warty. It looks like it's half gourd. That's gonna be, I hope there's nothing wrong with it because that's a one of a kind. It looks good, feels good. So that's probably half gourd. It probably bee came in with pollen off of a gourd at one point. And here is my this end of this building. These steel post stake tomatoes. There's 3 groups of them, and they're kind of ugly looking. Yep, there's another worm problem. I think I'm gonna have to switch back to the other spray. Here's a butterfly. Nobody's watching for butterflies today. Here's the last 1, 2, 3 tomato places, and there's asparagus. That's I'm getting these plants strong. Next year Nana's gonna have some asparagus in the spring, and probably quite a bit. There's a grasshopper. If the chickens were easy to get to, I would take it over for the birds, but I gotta go through 2 gates to get to them. And here's the tomato ripening on the ground. So there's all that. Here's an interesting looking pumpkin. Now, what'd that come from? Okay, that was a volunteer it came through here. It came from over next to the shed, and it took forever to get going and put on a fruit, but it looks really good. Here's a poor volunteer tomato. I think our chances of making tomatoes are really dwindling. I think it's got a white fly problem. It's been fairly dry too. I don't know. It's just not gonna happen, I guess. But this tomato, this is a volunteer tomato that's, watch for. That was in the carrot row, and I left it, and it's still going strong. Pretty good tomatoes on it. Here's a big sprawling volunteer marigold, flowering all over the place. And here is this was the first nightshade plant that I discovered, and I left it in the corn row. No, where was that? That was in the potato row. No, it was a sweet onion row. Sweet onion row, like 3 months ago. It had a little nightshade plant. I left it, and that's mushy. Delicious though. Those are harder. There's some ripe ones. Boy. I've gotten a lot of berries off of that. Here's my tomato planter experiment. Had some pots. Well, I had volunteer tomatoes. Had no room for, so I put them in pots. Got some of the neighbor's chicken manure and grew the tomatoes. I've gotten some pretty large ones. I think all but one plant got tomatoes on it. They've seen their better days. Like this one died for who knows what reason. Here's a couple avocado plants. They came up in the compost and I potted them. I'll take those inside for the winter when it gets cold. There's a big weed in there. You're done. And here is, oh, look at that. This is a very late volunteer pumpkin. Its chances are getting, I don't see a fruit flower. I don't see a flower yet on it, so its chances are getting dwindling on producing anything. And here is the original tomato row from tomatoes from the starter plants from the farmer's market. This I think this is a Mr. Stripey, and it's gotten back to producing tomatoes again. A lot of them all around the plant. I need to watch them for touching the ground. So far, so good. And I think this is it's a mess. Okay, this is this Brandywine tomato. I don't see any, well, where'd you come from? Yes, there's a couple tomatoes on it. So that's still producing. Now what's this here? Is that that's probably another Stripey. Another Mr. Stripey, not in good shape. Got a few tomatoes. I see some tomatoes on the ground from something, so I'm gonna have to watch them. Let's see, what was that one there? There's a dead tomato and another dead one. So, okay, there was a Big Zack. He's long gone, dead. And could have been another Brandywine, and he's been dead for a while. So, done with that tomato row. Nice cool day, a good breeze. And here is some more flat Dutch cabbage. I don't see much of a pest problem. I got to keep them sprayed. There might be some usable cabbage in November. They're really, this is about the best sunny spot in the garden. And they're doing rather well. And as an experiment, I am experimenting with seed that I grew. This is from seed I grew from, and they flowered out and they seeded this spring. And this is plants from that seed. I'm just testing the seed and testing fall cabbage with getting the Captain Jack spray on it and keeping the bugs down, because I try to grow cabbage a few times in the fall and it just didn't work. Too many bugs. Now that I've solved that, looks good. And here is that the big bush Goliath plant that I got. This plant was about a foot high. Nana bought it. She felt sorry for me, and I grew it. And this is like the 5th or 6th group of tomatoes on it. It's kind of like there's tomatoes at the ground, and as it grew, it just would have several different stories of tomatoes. And this is like the 5th or 6th group. It's still alive. It looks good. A few tomatoes. And here's that bucket tomato. It's got a nice looking tomato down the lower part. The rest of it's probably about finished. And the toilet tomato, a few little tomatoes left. It mostly died out. It's a good experiment. I'm gonna keep going with it till the toilet. I noticed one thing, that there was some breakage from freezing or something, and I'm definitely gonna have to have it on its side, or maybe even getting the dirt out of it before hard before it freezes, so it won't bust the toilet. So I'm gonna have to watch for that. Here is my pineapples. They're looking a lot better lately. This one looks fabulous. It looks classic. And these here, these plants here are like 3 and 4 years old, and this one is like 2. Here is my sunflower harvest. I took them inside, but they started smelling, and I brought them out to dry really hard, and I'll shell them out at a certain point. I'm gonna probably take them in when that rain chance comes up here later in the week, and they're good and dry right now. And here's a volunteer tomato that came out of this area where this tree is, and it's got a tomato on it. It made it. It survived that dry and no sun. It kind of worked. There's a little pumpkin. I wonder if this one's, well, it's got a big stem and a little pumpkin, but it's probably not going to get much bigger. It's itty bitty. It looks like it's not going to die, or the pumpkin not going to rot. I saw there was a bumblebee on that flower, and it tumbled off like it was drunk. Was there some fermented pollen in there? he just rolled off the flower petal and went to the ground. And there he goes. You okay? You're big. I'm gonna check out this tomato blossom. Okay. How's these tomatoes doing? Oh, you're full of holes. I'm gonna have to spray here, maybe even tomorrow. Captain Jack's Thuricide. Captain Jack's VT Thuricide. I'm gonna have to redo it. Get these tomatoes, hit them again. We're getting, and here's this. This is the best tomato cage plant this year. It has the best location. It's at the end of this driveway. It gets a massive amount of water if it rains, and it's the best sunlit part of probably the entire garden. It gets decent sunlight almost the entire day, and it's still got a good group of tomatoes. I did pick that big one last time. Okay, well, here we go. Here's this volunteer. Here's this tomato that came up in the long gone, well, there might be one squash. That one's ready to, I could pick that one. That's turning. It's done. It's got a few, I don't know if I only picked one tomato off of it or not. There's like there's 4 left. And check out this oblong squash. It looks okay. And here's this nice looking tomatillo. I looked up the recipe for salsa verde, but I don't have a good number of the ingredients. So I think it needs jalapenos or some other peppers that I do not have, and I'm gonna have to decide. I've been throwing them in the chili, like I've said. So a lot of. Ooh, that one's tiny. And this one's busting out of its husk. And they're very decent. There's a real nice flavor to them. They have a lemony, tarty flavor, but yet sweet. So they're kind of a cool thing to nibble on. So they're an interesting plant. And here is this volunteer tomato that has two nice large tomatoes on it. Hopefully they're not wormy. Those are, at least there's a couple, and this plant is not looking that healthy. A lot of these tomato plants are just, they're well, as expected, they don't do well towards the winter. They'll just struggle. And here's this nice, that's not a good, that one won't stand up as a jack-o'-lantern, but it looks pretty good. It's a little pumpkin. Okay. About done with the garden. And well, here that's starting to ripen, this little pumpkin. Oh, that one's getting rotten. That one needs to go to the chickens here when I get a chance. So yeah, I'm gonna check this vine out. Where is oh, I had an issue there. Well, chickens are squawking. Yeah, there was a flower there, but I have some squash vine. There's some pumpkin borers that got that vine, so that's fine here. It did all this growing, but I don't think it's going to have a pumpkin on it. So it's all right. Okay, let's go look at these bunnies. I want some viewers. All the chickens. Hey, bunnies. Let's go inside. Oh, there's something on my foot. What's the wrong, chicken? Quack, quack, quack. Uh-oh. Well, there's a chicken out in the main pen. I hope the hawk don't come. She wants back in. Oh my God. Oh, that's I don't know if that's chicken feed or what. It looks, she had some, the neighbor had some pellets that were wood shavings, but this ain't that. This looks like food. Let's see. Is this food, chickens? Well, quit being rude. Well, they say it's not food. Scarecrow, are you getting those hawks? Oh man. Okay. Hey, big rooster. Why don't you crow for me? You're a big one. Hey, bunnies. Oh, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Why ain't you playing? Let's play. Daddy Bunny's moving. Are you guys gonna get big feet like Daddy Bunny? Okay. I heard a door. I don't know how to open this gate. Does it take strength or knowledge? Okay. I'm coming in. Don't go between my legs. Don't be scared. Okay, that's secure. Okay. You're good bunnies. Do you like paddings? You like paddings? You're good bunnies. I bet mommy doesn't like me. Mommy looks like she's had a lot to work to do. I finally got in here and I got no viewers. And no thumbs up. And no comments. But at least I got bunnies. I'll give you guys about a few minutes. What's the deal, Mommy? Has Daddy been hard on you? I hope you guys ain't making more bunnies. I don't know what you'll do with more bunnies. Yep, we got a viewer. Hey, bunny. Got an itch. Viewer left. He didn't like bunny. I smell bunny. Are you guys gonna give me some bunny poop for the garden? I could smell it. Where's their poop pile? You guys are itchy. Are you guys getting fleas? Oh, Daddy's a spooky one. He gets spooked easily. He says, get out of my cage. Hey, Mace, come on. Let me give it a pat. Let me get pat. Hi. I got you. Hey, oh baby. Hey, baby. How you doing? Good. You let me play. How about you? You know, I'm gonna leave him. You had me cornered. I'm scared. Are you Daddy's girl? You moved. They're all piling up in the corner. Say, Daddy, make him go. Okay, this is the end of the stream about Jim Miller's garden. Thanks for watching. It's very few. It's gonna be interesting. Not the best watch day I've seen. Well, there's someone on. I'll let this person watch for about the few seconds and look at the bunnies. Neighbors' bunnies, 10 babies, and a mommy daddy. And they're starting to move around a little bit. Okay, that one left. Okay, gonna wrap this up on Jim Miller's garden, September 9th, 2024. The bunnies say, hey, you're in the wrong century. I'm worried about this. There's this little bump on. You got some problem? Mommy's got a little bump under her neck. That's a concern. I'll have to talk to. I need to talk to the neighbor about that. Bunny's got your mama rabbit's got a bump, like a cancer bump or something. So that's not good. Hey, you want to get petted? No. Okay. This time. Thanks for watching Jim Miller's Garden. See you maybe next week.